Hello and welcome back to the Second Chance to Live channel here on YouTube. I'm happy to see that you decided to stop by to watch this video presentation. Thank you. In today's video presentation, I'm going to be sharing 12 recovery steps for individuals living with brain injuries. These are adapted from other recovery programs and intended to help individuals here who are living with brain injuries, invisible disabilities, and strokes for that matter. So to read the article, I will bring up the article and start reading. I want to thank you for your time. Here's the article. 12-step recovery for individuals living with brain injuries. Living life with brain injuries provides an assortment of challenges. These challenges can result in our either reacting to or responding to people, places, and things in our lives. Coping with these challenges as individuals living with a brain injury can result in negative consequences or in positive outcomes in reacting to or acting in our lives. In my experience, I have discovered that 12 steps, when I work them, bring about positive outcomes instead of bringing about negative consequences into my life and relationships. Coping and in the process creating hope in my life and relationships. As I continue to use these steps to create hope in my life, I enhance my sense of well-being and improve my relationships. Through working the 12 steps, I've discovered my purpose, my new normal, how to improve my brain-body connection, and how to be an advocate for myself and for other people. So what has worked for me may also work for you. In my experience, I have discovered 12 steps. One worked, bring about positive outcomes, changes in my life and relationships. These 12 steps helped me to stop practicing insanity or doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get different results. And in the process, I'm able to own my power, own the power in my mind, body, spirit, soul, and emotions. So I developed these 12 steps for brain injury survivors, and I'd like to share them with you. So number one, admitted that we were powerless over the impact and effects of our brain injury and invisible disability, that our lives have forever changed because of our brain injury. Although we are powerless over the impact of our brain injury and our invisible disability, we are not helpless. As a result, we no longer need to feel like a victim or that we are helpless because of our brain injury or invisible disability. Number two, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could help us to accept what we are powerless to change, the impact of our brain injury and our invisible disability. Consequently, we can rely on a power that many of us have found to be God. We can rely on a loving God to help us to stop sabotaging and undermining our lives, well-beings, and relationships. We can rely on a loving God to help us create a good life for ourselves. Number three, with this awareness, with the awareness that we need this power in our lives, we can make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. In the process, we can ask Him to help us own our power as individuals living with a brain injury and an invisible disability. Own our power, what is in our power to control in our mind, body, spirit, soul, and emotions, a little at a time and one day at a time. Number four, with the help of a loving God, we can begin to examine areas in our lives that previously undermined and sabotaged our lives, our well-beings, and our relationships. With the help of a loving God, we can look for patterns or defense mechanisms that keep you and I feeling like a victim of a brain injury and invisible disability and our circumstances. Number five, we no longer have to remain isolated because of our defense mechanisms that we discovered in step four. We can come out of the shadows of isolation and break free from feelings of alienation, from both ourselves, a loving God, and other people. We can find a new freedom by admitting to ourselves, a loving God, and to another human being how these defense mechanisms have undermined, sabotaged, and gotten in the way of our relationships. In the process, we can learn how to trust again. Number 6, we can become entirely ready to let go of the behaviors that we have been using, hair's dry here, that we have been using to defend and in the process sabotage our lives, well-being, and relationships. They're being sick and tired of being sick and tired of getting the same results. We become willing to do something different to get different results. Through being willing, we ask a loving God to remove the behaviors that sabotage our lives, well-being, and relationship. 7, we can be actively involved in the process of seeing the behaviors that have sabotaged our lives removed. We can humbly ask a loving God to remove all the behaviors that sabotage and undermine our lives, well-beings, and relationships. Through becoming aware, we are able to replace behaviors that undermine our lives, well-being, and relationships with behaviors that empower our lives, well-beings, and relationships. So we can invite God into this process and ask Him to help us so we don't have to rely on our own ability to replace negative or these defense mechanisms with empowering behaviors to enhance our life, well-being, and relationships. Number 8, with our awareness, we gained through making a list of the people we have harmed because of our defense mechanisms that are often found in doing the step 4 process of uncovering how our lives have become affected and how we reacted to people, places, and things in our lives. We become willing to make amends to these individuals, including ourselves, as we examine how our behaviors have harmed, undermined, and sabotaged these relationships. In the process, we can begin to make peace with our past, our relationships, a loving God, and ourselves. Number 9, we can make direct amends to the people who have been negatively impacted by the behaviors that we have previously used to cope. In the process, we can make peace with our past, our relationships, a loving God, and ourselves. In the process of making amends, we can be released from the burden of our guilt and shame. In the process, we can find a new freedom and happiness. 10, on a continual daily basis, we can continue to take a personal inventory, and when we become aware, we can make direct amends. Direct amends of behaviors that undermine and sabotage our relationships. In the process, we can be accountable and responsible for keeping our side of the street clean. In the process, we can continue to be freed from the burden of guilt and shame that undermine and sabotage our life, well-being, and relationships. Number 11, we do not have to figure things out on our own. We can turn our will and our life over to the care of God, the care of a loving God as we understand Him. We can pray for the knowledge of His will for us each day and the power to carry that out each day. We can rely on a power greater than ourselves. We can ask and trust that a loving God will lead, guide, and direct our steps each day. We can trust the process of loving God and ourselves. And number 12, as we grow in the understanding of ourselves through applying the principles learned through these 12 steps, we can try to carry the message of the 12 steps and what we've learned to help other people and share our experience, strength, and hope with individuals as I seek to do through Second Chance to Live, my articles, ebooks, and video presentations. In the process of living our lives each day with the help of a loving God, we learn how to trust the process, a loving God, and ourselves one day at a time. In the process, we learn how to do the footwork and then let go of the outcomes. So, over the past 19 months, I have had the opportunity to share the benefits of working these 12 steps that have been given to me or that I've learned about and that I've developed for myself to apply to my life. I have shared my experience, strength, and hope with associations, support groups, hospitals, rehabilitation centers, clubhouses, in service at hospitals to staff and to the Department of Education through 4 programs. And at the base of this article, I have my 4 programs offered. Finding Purpose After a Brain Injury and Stroke presentation, which speaks about thriving beyond the diagnosis, what happened to us, and a prognosis of what we can accomplish beyond what people may be telling us we can accomplish. Second presentation is Accepting and Creating a New Normal After Brain Injury and Stroke presentation. And that's about defining who we are after our brain injuries and ways that work for us by looking at our lives and abilities in a new way. The third presentation is Neuroplasticity, Setting Goals, and Creating Hope After Brain Injury and Stroke. And this presentation is about developing our brain and bodies in ways that work for us through developing new neural pathways and brain reorganization through repetitive mirror movements. And then the fourth presentation is Owning Our Power by Advocating for Ourselves and through our mind, body, spirit, soul, and emotions, through awareness, acceptance, and action. And the name of this presentation is Believing in Ourselves through Self-Advocacy, a guide to owning our power after a brain injury and stroke. So I'm available to share this presentation, the 12 steps, to talk to your group about the 12 steps and how they benefited me. And I'm also available to share these 4 presentations that I shared in this presentation. At the end of this presentation, I'm able to do that through Zoom or in person. So let me know, and I'd be happy to schedule and do that. Up to this point, I've had the opportunity to share this message with 51 different organizations and institutions, associations, support groups, hospitals, rehabilitation centers, and Department of Education. So this is the end of the video presentation. I want to thank you for your time. Before I go, let me encourage you with this. Please do not give up on yourself, a loving God, or your process, because more will be revealed to you and to me with time. Have a great day, and God bless both you and your family. Bye now.